What's up, everyone? This is the Fraser LeVay podcast. I'm Fraser LeVay, and today we're talking my Olympics experience. I went to Paris, I went to a bunch of events, and I'm excited just to talk to you about it because everyone's been asking me, how was it? What'd you do? Just should they go to the Olympics? And first world problems. But if you're like me, I'm just kind of worn out of sporting events and just events in general. They're overpriced. It's a hurry up and wait, often disorganized, paying, event and sports organizers basically seeing how much they can charge for a beer and then top the next person or a hot dog. Parking is outrageous. Just everything is a cash grab now. And it really sours events, in my opinion, to where I just don't want to go unless it's an incredible event. Like, went to Coachella a bunch, and I'm just hate Coachella now. It's an hour to walk in, an hour to walk out, impossible to get from point A to point B. So I went to the Olympics with very low expectations. We'd be standing in line forever. It wouldn't be helpful. Paris is already a packed city. So how is that going to be? But wow, was I absolutely shocked about everything. Um, Real quick, I read before I pulled the trigger on, I did it a last second trip. It was literally, I've been looking at doing this trip for 10 years, ever since Andrew Wiggins was a high school basketball phenom. If you know me, I guess it was like 13 years ago. My dog, who passed away, RIP, his name was Wiggins. So I've wanted to watch Team Canada basketball once I knew we'd be not the worst team in the world anymore, which now we're basically just fifth. Not great. We underachieved, whatever. Let's not talk about it. But I've wanted to do this trip since I was like, okay, whenever he hits his age to be in his prime, I'm going. And lo and behold, SGA, Jamal Murray played shocking, sadly. All these people have come along now, and we have a legit, on paper, top 2 team, definitely top 3 team in the world. So I was super excited ever since the Paris Olympics were announced. I was like, I want to go to Paris. I want to go to Paris. But then I looked at buying tickets a year and a half ago when they released tickets. So you would go into the auction system that the Olympics has and you buy tickets in advance, which that's fine. That works for, like, one, if you can plan a year and a half in advance, which I'm not sure how many people can do that. Two, if you're going to track and field, because you're just watching track and field, or the gymnastics. My thing was basketball. I really wanted to watch basketball, and the teams weren't announced. So you were basically going to buy tickets for Group A, or sorry, Team A is playing Team B. But it wasn't like, okay, so I'm going to spend, like, I had my cart all racked up of basketball. I think I had $2,000 in basketball tickets, and I had no idea if, like, they could have been Spain versus Jamaica. They didn't play each other, but you know what I mean? Like, I had no idea who'd be playing. So I just said, no, I guess I'm not going to do this. My Paris dream is over because it didn't make any sense. But I kept my eye on it. So 2 months, 3 months ago, I started looking a little bit. I'm like, that'd be nice, but probably not in the cards financially, time wise, all these sort of things. And then a week before, I looked, and flights were ridiculously cheap. Tickets, they actually have, I'll get into the tickets more, cheap. The ones that were available. And I cheap in parentheses, but like cheap is in, I live in Phoenix, part-time, most of the time, whatever. Going to a Suns playoff game in the lower bowl is like $300-$400 a ticket. Going to the Olympics 100-meter final and semifinal, men's. It also had the hammer throw final, the women's long or high jump final, a bunch of like 1,500-meter runs that were not the group stage, whatever it's called. Some other semifinals and quarterfinals of stuff. Absolute chaos for 4 hours at track and field. It's the greatest sporting event I've ever been to. $160, $180 to go in like the lower bowl, great seats. It was incredible. So I saw these prices and I was like, you know what? I'm going. And went, bought tickets, and here we are. I went to the Olympics. Airbnbs, hotels were cheap, quote unquote. Like everything was a third of the price I thought it would be. I would have gone if it was a little bit more expensive, maybe 50% more expensive than it was. The amount it cost was a no brainer to go. People ask me how much it costs to go. I would say for two of us, costs around $7,500 ish. But also, we went to like Venice and Bruges in Belgium. That's including flights. We were in Europe for 3 weeks, I want to say. And yeah, so I mean, it's once in a lifetime. $7,500 isn't cheap, but I mean, I could have gone to a bachelor party in July that was going to be $3,000 to go sit in a pub, and I'm sure it'd be fun, but it wouldn't be going to one of the coolest events I've ever been to in my entire life. Um, so bring it back around. I read an article. That's where I was. I read an article that the Paris was actually down in tourism because everyone who normally goes to Paris, Paris being what, one of the top three cities people travel to for, tourism and trips, top five easily, I would assume. Um, Tourism was way down because no one wanted to come during the Olympics. Things like the Eiffel Tower were they're available. People said it was roped off. It wasn't. You could still go up the Eiffel Tower, but certain things were harder to access. A couple smaller things were like closed down, but you could still go to the Louvre. You could go to pretty much everything. But of course, people were scared off because of the amount of people that could come with the Olympics. But it had an inverse effect where less people came to Paris than normally, which meant a plethora of a plethora of Airbnbs open, and just a great time. One of the Airbnbs I stayed at, great guy, Vincent, I think is how they pronounce it. He was saying the same thing. He thought Parisians left. Like he was saying in the area we were at, like 20 to 25% of the restaurants or stores were closed because Parisians were like, I'm not staying around here for this chaos that was going to be the Olympics. And then he ended up saying like it was just incredibly well organized and was less busy than it is normally. And the Parisians who left missed out because it was quiet for Paris standards. Um, and yeah, it was incredible. Not, there's still a million restaurants open, shops, all that kind of stuff. But wow, it was great. So less people, as mentioned, than normal. And we went to the Louvre and just walked by it. No lines. There was queues, like line stanchions that went for kind of like the worst customs lines you've ever seen times five, where you would stand to wait to go inside to buy tickets and then wait in the line again. Those like stanchions and the bars that, queue everyone up, there was no one in them. We literally just walked inside. There was no lineup to buy a ticket, and we just bought a ticket. And then we went and saw the Mona Lisa and everything else, which is crazy. It was unbelievable. And that was even on a weekend. Um, so that was great. On top of that, the organization from the Paris Olympic Committee or the Olympics, however that works, it was overstaffed. There was three people versus one. Like I feel like when you're looking for help in the US for an event and they don't want to deal with you, number one, they're like upset about their job, even though their job is to help people. There's three people for you there. Like we landed in the airport and there's lines or stickers on the ground showing us where to get train tickets. And then there's three people who we can ask. Well, there's like 30 people we could ask who are like double teaming, helping everyone on where to go, a little bit of help, that sort of thing. It was incredible. Affordable, as mentioned. I went to basketball games, beach volleyball, track and field, saw cycling, running, stuff like that. And everything was 160 euros, so they're like 180 US for great seats. Like you could spend less and be in the upper bowl. I was like row 9 for basketball for Canada. I was row 3 for the Olympic soccer final, which obviously row 3, if you really want to watch, you want to be higher up so you can see the whole field and that sort of thing. But still, that ambiance and being right next to the field at row 3 is still incredible. So That was $180 US, which, if you've gone to a game in Phoenix and Team USA is playing, or Manchester United, you're spending $300-$400 for a lower bowl ticket, maybe $250, $300. It's wild. So it was nice. Shout out to the Olympics. I guess this is a rule, or that you can't sell. They have an official resale platform. So if you're reselling your tickets, you put it on that resale platform, and it's capped at the amount they can charge, which I think is the same price you purchase it for. Kind of like what Zach Bryan did in his tour a year and a half ago. So you couldn't resell and make money now, which is great. So I got all my tickets on the resale platform, aside from one, beach volleyball, which I should have bought in advance, and it was there as an option to buy in advance, but I didn't, and I'm kicking myself because I ended up spending like $800 for 2 tickets. But the beach volleyball was, I would say, the greatest venue in the history of sports, of any sport. As you probably know, if you watch the Olympics, it was like underneath the Eiffel Tower. So it was the hardest ticket to get. I think Team USA basketball and this were the hardest ticket to get, because it just turned into all the stars were there. It was like the thing to do and the place to be. Every celebrity went crazy. But I had to go. One, because I run beach volleyball leagues, so I'd never hear the end of it if I didn't go. Two, was just the experience. Three, I'd spent so much less on the tickets I bought that I felt like, oh well, it evens out. I was expecting to spend way more, so at least I'll bite the bullet on this one and buy these tickets. Also, it was a semifinal for women's and a semifinal match for men's, and Canada happened to be in the women's semifinal, and they won. So I wanted to buy that one as well, being a patriot, being Canadian, and it was amazing. So that was expensive, but aside from that, Airbnbs, organization, everything was immaculate. I'm interested to see when I bought that volleyball ticket on Tacumbo, which is, I guess, their version of StubHub here in the US. And I don't know how that worked, but it worked out fine. Or I don't know what the rules are, I guess, with the Olympics, because my concern is, will StubHub just be takeover? Sure, they have the resale platform, but will everyone be on StubHub selling these Olympic tickets when it's in LA next year, or next Olympics in 4 years? So I'm a little worried if it's not going to be like that. If it's all going to be on the resale platform, amazing. Go. You have to do it. If it's going to be StubHub and $1,000 to go see everything, then I'm out. But I'm hoping the Olympics keeps this platform, the resale kind of laws, rules, regulations in place for LA, because it was great. Paris, gorgeous city. It was just 3 times bigger than I thought it would be in terms of the buildings. It was every building is 10, 20 stories tall, but then they're also long. It just felt like it was a land of giants, and like the clocks, and you're on the River Seine, and it's just everything's enormous. Notre Dame, like the Louvre, the palaces. It was just Eiffel Tower. It just seemed like a land of giants, which you don't think. You think Europe, like smaller things, economical, but no, it was huge, gorgeous. Food was great, as you can imagine. Just the bread, the wine. Also, yeah, it's relatively cheap. I was worried that Paris was going to be really expensive to eat. I don't think it was less than like LA, like any major city. I spent less than Scottsdale. Um, I would say it was just kind of in between major city and middle city prices. It wasn't cheap, but it wasn't LA and New York prices, which you would think it would be. So you could eat cheap. If you want to eat cheap, you can do it. If you want to eat out every night, which we did every day, you could do that relatively cheap-ish. But so I'm from Kamloops, British Columbia, which is like a very blue collar town, and it was cheaper to eat in Paris than to go out for dinner in Kamloops. Crazy. And there's no tipping. They don't tip. It's included in your bill. So if you include that, it's basically offsets as well. So wild. That's it. I just want to let you know of my Paris trip. Go to the next Olympics, make it a bucket list experience. And if you don't go to LA one, because who knows how it could be, because LA is chaos, go to the next one after that. More to come. Lots of NFL. Faneverland.com is the new website. Check it out. Fraser LeVay podcast. Thanks for listening. Talk to you soon.